Undead Unluck. 2 years in fact, but that's because I didn't want to oversaturate my channel with Undead Unluck content. Plus, I was starting to get burnout from making those types of videos and wanted to review other things. But hey, at least I'm back! This is part 4 of my Undead Unluck review series. If you're not familiar with the series yet, first of all, why did you click on this video? I'm about to spoil you some major story events of the manga. There'll be a link to a playlist in the description below and in the top right corner of the screen to catch you up to speed on the story. But if you don't care about spoilers and are already aware of how this is going to go, let's move on. So where was I last left off? Oh yeah, the Earth blew up. Both Under and Union were unable to prevent God, Sun, and Luna from destroying the planet, killing everyone. But there is hope, as Fuuko is now the head of the Union and successfully loops back in time to save everyone from their tragedies. And to prove that this time is going to be different, immediately after the time skip, Fuuko does the one thing everyone wished they could have done and removes the artifact that permanently sealed Akira's fate of being a Negator, while rocking a mature look to her. Dang, Fuuko, the last of 100 years have been kind to you. There's also another thing to notice about Fuuko, and if there was one word to describe it, it would be confidence. Confidence in her abilities and confidence to lead everyone with the hope of finally killing the gods once and for all. Which is a far cry from the meek, passive, insecure person she was at the beginning of the manga. Despite everything that has happened in the previous loop, she still retains her love for anything romantic and her hopeful, compassionate side, wishing that everyone could achieve their happy ending. After saving Akira's fate, she takes him to a safe place and explains to him, and by proxy the audience, what she's been doing after looping. She's been living since the 1800s, revealing that Andy has set out to secure more artifacts, asking Fuuko to ready Union while he's gone. And Akira, surprisingly, took this information well. Then again, after experiencing an Uma's ability in real time, I would believe just about everything. She sends Akira home, telling Move that he already did enough for them in the previous loop. Plus, with the information from the artifact G-Liner, she theorizes that the final artifact Junas and Victor were looking for to take down the gods is here in this final loop. Yes, in case you didn't remember, this is the final loop the Negators could do, as the Ark only had enough energy to send Fuuko back one more time to this current loop, adding more tension to gather everything and everyone to make this loop count. So no pressure. Fuuko then sets off to begin her mission to assemble the greatest team of Negators ever. This arc, or era, is I would like to call the Smash Ultimate Union era, as everyone is here. Every single Negator, both friend and foe, will be joining the Union, as Fuuko takes her first steps in forming the Ultimate Union in the final loop, saving Negators from their tragedies and then the first set of quests the Union undertakes. First person on the list? Nico, or at least the younger version of him. Fuuko found him in New York, and despite initially being against the plan of slaying God, he quickly changed his mind after seeing Move in action and learning the truth about the world. What's interesting about Fuuko recruiting previous Negators is that while she knows their history and personalities, they don't know her, as she's basically a stranger. So the best thing that she can do is remain sincere in her words and hope her effort and her actions will be enough for them to trust and follow her. For example, while Nico was still reluctant to help Fuuko because she didn't reveal his own tragedy, due to her fear that doing so will cause him to distance himself from his future wife and prevent his daughter from being born, he could tell that she was genuine in her words and that she was looking after him in her own way. She can't force them to join her, but she can at least try to convince them by being honest and real. Now that she's recruited one of the smartest people from Union, the next thing is to build his equipment and gather scientists to help Nico further. The first part is easy thanks to Fuuko building some of the equipment in her spare time and striking it gold with oil, and the latter led to her saving Ichigo from her tragedy. With both the funded equipment and a group of scientists to back him up, Nico successfully builds his old psychopods, which will be the key to preventing Gina's tragedy of accidentally killing 4,000 people through her powers. And just in time, as Fuuko, Nico, and Ichigo teleport where a young Gina resides, as her powers manifest while the Uma heat rampages through her town. Thanks to Nico's psychopods, he contains Gina's powers preventing Unchanged from killing anyone, while Fuuko then fights Heat by herself. It's revealed that during these last several centuries, she has evolved her unluck to imbue objects and tools that she cherishes with misfortune, harking back to the words Andy said to her about using her negator abilities creatively to their fullest potential. Also, I find it adorable that Fuuko took a page out of her partner's handbook and utilized pistols and guns as part of her arsenal. Her unluck brought the Uma to be defeated by a meteorite. However, this meteorite turns out to be Fang, who came to find Fuuko and challenge her to a fight as per the agreement they made in exchange for the condition that he must only kill Umas and no one else. Fuuko obliges and defeats Fang by combining her unluck with the move Shen taught her, causing Heat's remains to trigger an explosion on him. As she leaves, she explains to Fang that Shen is someone he must meet and raise if he wants to become stronger, with her words about how the strongest people come from those who care for others with an unwavering heart and that will never change, sparking encouragement in Gina. Fang leaves, but vows to kill both Shen and Fuuko to negate her ideals about strength. Spoiler alert, this never happened, so, with another Negator member gained, it was time for Fuuko to awaken Apocalypse and start up the quest once again. But just like how she prevented Akira and everyone else's Negator tragedy so far, Fuuko decides she's going to do something different and opts to pass on many of the quests since, other than a few extreme cases like the Four Seasons, a majority of the penalties aren't anything to fear on their own and were just the result of other people using them. And shockingly, she has a point. A good chunk of the Umas that were an inconvenience to the Union were used by Negators that stood in their way, and on the rare occasion that they were a hindrance to the world, they were quickly dealt by the Union themselves. Plus, on top of that, Fuuko theorizes that the reason why Juna has failed so many times for the last 455 billion years is that she was so narrow-minded that she kept playing it straight, raising the risk of losing a Negator during a mission. So, Fuuko would rather receive penalties for passing to hasten to time outside, allowing the Union to reach other Negators and prevent the next tragedy. That's like starting a new game plus in an RPG and skipping all the side quests while one-shotting the bosses along the way because you already know their weaknesses and patterns. Eventually, she settled on the quest for capturing Unavoidable and neutralizing the Uma Autumn, and by then, 26 years have passed in the outside world. With a now more advanced Yugen at their disposal, they plan on taking Autumn first, as Unavoidable has yet to awaken his Negator ability as it's currently in the possession of an old man. While the fight in the previous loop required a group of Negators to take it down, Fuuko believes they only need one this time, and that's Gina. Using the same trick Akira did back in the Autumn arc, Fuuko plans to turn herself into a book so Gina can meet her previous self and become stronger. Once the plan is set in motion, Gina gets sent back into the loop where they first met, and experiences everything that had happened in the Unchanged arc. Then, somehow, Gina is able to meet the ghost of her past. Don't ask me how, I barely know myself. But there's at least a nice moment where Ghost Gina sees evidence that Fuuko still cares about her despite their initial misgivings, and gives current Gina the knowledge to control Unchanged properly. With this knowledge, Gina neutralizes Autumn, gaining a new outlook on change. What's pretty cool about this new loop era is that we get to see alternate versions of characters who never experienced their trauma, and the butterfly effect events that occur, as well as spotlighting characters that were either mentioned or barely had any screen time. For instance, before this loop, I had no strong feelings about Gina beyond an annoying obsessive brat with a tragic end. Now that her tragedy has been prevented and she has a more positive perspective on life, she becomes a more likable person. Her friendship with Fuuko is really sweet and wholesome, something that could finally happen without Gina being obsessed with Andy. Thank God. Granted, it's kinda there, but it's more of a loyal friend/sister mentality than anything. After Autumn has been dealt with, the group is informed about the unavoidable old man's passing, and it's only a matter of time before Unavoidable's tragedy happens. Luckily, Fuuko has a plan to take his opponent's place since his tragedy involves accidentally killing his opponent during a boxing match. Plus, we finally get to see what Unavoidable looks like, and it's Balrog? When did you get it here? Jokes aside, it is cute that Tosaka included something from his favorite video game franchise. Although his name is Void? Really? It's like he was destined to have his Negator ability. Void eventually awakens Unavoidable as he and Fuuko box in the ring, but Fuuko survives it and keeps fighting him despite the attack. The match ends in Boyd's favor, allowing him to leave it behind without any regrets before being brought back as the official third member of the Union. But this is only just the beginning. I'm putting these two arcs together since they're both pretty short on their own, and they both deal with recruiting more members of the Union and preventing their tragedies. With the former focusing on the newly formed Union trying to stop a war to claim an important artifact and save the founders of Under, and the latter going to outer space to save Bill. As a result of completing the quest, Apocalypse reveals the location of the artifact remembered before going back into hibernation for the next 3 months. But there's no time for relaxation. Now that Fuuko knows Remember's location, she plans to find it before any malicious forces grab it, and use it once everyone is gathered so it can be put to a unanimous vote. And coincidentally, it's also where Billy, Tella, and Creed will experience their tragedies and awaken their Negator abilities, so they have to go regardless. But before they do that, they need to recruit a few more allies for the job. The first member is Yusai, Andy's old sword master teacher. Fuuko helped her to defeat the Uma after her awakened Andra caused her to stay still for a week. The next is Unbreakable's predecessor, Haruka's grandfather, who immediately accepted upon learning his future granddaughter's achievements during the spring arc. Finally, the Union was able to track down Sean Dots, the one who had unseen and killed Fuuko in an alternate timeline but got murked by Andy in the previous loop. Anyone? No? I don't blame you, his screen time was on par with Void's. But the Union now has everyone they need currently and enters a war to save both sides of the conflict. They begin by preventing Tella's tragedy by stopping Creed's tanks from killing the wounded, as it was something Tella was unable to stop due to his intel. Once Creed's men have been detained, Creed enters the fight to try to take down Union, only for his undecrease to manifest and superiors to use that as a bargaining chip to deny saving his men. Wanna save your men from this conflict? Better waste all that ammo we provided! The Union was able to stop Creed thanks to Unbreakable's shield and Sean teaming up with Fuuko to do a sneak attack on him, despite Sean's initial reluctance and selling out his teammates. Since Creed was defeated, both sides of the conflict said screw it and started bombing the entire war zone knowing they had soldiers on the ground. Creed reveals that the purpose of the war was to claim an ancient super weapon called Disc, which is the UFO Gina was piloting back in the Unchanged arc. To finally stop the war once and for all, Creed aligns himself with Fuuko to steal Disc before anyone else. Meanwhile, Billy was casually observing Union from the sidelines, pondering their true objectives. And when he saw what Fuuko and the gang did for Tella and his men, he sneaked aboard Disc to find out what kind of people they are. After boarding Disc and seeing both forces withdraw their attacks, Fuuko notices Billy on top of Disc and head towards him to have a talk. Even if Fuuko prevents Billy's tragedy from happening and the war is stopped, she knows it's only a matter of time before Billy once again carries the burden of tackling God all by himself. So to show that everyone can stand on equal ground to Billy, who believe only the strongest should have to fight, Fuuko has the rest of the Union try to beat the shit out of Billy. And when that doesn't work, Billy says he'll join if Fuuko can beat him in a quick draw duel. She ultimately wins, of course, but her unluck causes Disc to fall, and upon witnessing her teammates' undying trust in her, Billy awakens his unfair ability, now with different conditions. Instead of the condition that his opponent has to see Billy as a threat, Billy now needs to acknowledge the Negator's strength to copy their ability. I would say we're just about done here, but unfortunately, even though Fuuko's unluck worked in her favor, it worked a little too well. And Nico is the poor unfortunate soul to get caught up in it. Despite everyone's efforts, this still threatens to kill Nico. However, thanks to Ichiko evolving her Negator ability, she was able to separate Nico's soul to take the physical brunt of the unlock, while taking his body and retreating as the island is blown into pieces. If you haven't noticed this by now, there's been a running theme of Negators evolving their ability. Hina getting a new perspective on change, Ichiko separating her soul from her body since her Negator ability only affects the soul, Sean coming to terms with himself and found a place of belonging, Tella realizing that there's more than one way of interpreting information without being told, and even Billy learning that strength doesn't just come from individuals alone, but rather teamwork. And it all comes back to that fundamental rule we've known about Negators since the beginning of the manga. That being that the power of a Negator can vary depending on the Negator's interpretation of the rule, and is not absolute. I really like this direction Tozuka took with this new loop because he could have written it in a way where everyone attains their same ability, but he didn't. As I've mentioned before, things are different now since Fuuko knows everyone's tragedy, so why not change fate? It's been established that a Negator's power is characterized by tragedy and loss, but who's to say it can't be the same for the opposite? And with this repeating pattern of Negators evolving their abilities through positive influences, it's gonna continue that trend from here on out. In the wreckage of the island, Fuuko finally finds Remember and the would-be members of Undead join Fuuko's union. Then she reveals their next stop of recruitment, and this time, they're heading into space! The plan is to build a rocket to go into a space station where Phil is, as he was born there as part of a secret experiment before it was suddenly attacked by aliens, leaving only himself and his mother in a precarious situation. A discussion was held on who should go, and in the end, it was decided that Fuuko, Nico, and Creed should go as the best possible people for the mission. Of course, not everyone agrees to this decision, as Sean and Gina felt they could help Fuuko as well, but Fuuko doesn't want to risk getting Negator stuff this early on in the loop. So naturally, the two dimwits sneak aboard the ship thanks to Sean reinterpreting his ability and get scolded by Fuuko when they get caught. That is one angry mom look. But it all worked out in a way because with their help, the ship was able to safely dock at the space station, granted with a little help. That help turned out to be Phil, who met up with the group seemingly not needing a spaceship to travel in his environment, but it gets quickly explained that his mother saved his life from an illness by transferring his mind into a robot body. He only has one simple request for the group: to rescue his mother. After the aliens invaded the space station, Phil and his mother were targeted by them, causing Phil to be separated from her while trying to get rid of them as best as he could. But the station can only take so much damage before it gets destroyed, so they need to quickly get to her, and fast. It gets discovered that the aliens react to intense emotion, so upon finding Phil's mother, both Phil and Fuuko lure the aliens away from her, as Phil realizes that despite looking like a robot, he still has strong feelings for his mother inside him as any other human. And as they come across the alien queen, Phil ultimately sacrifices himself to be eaten, awakening his unfeelability before being swallowed whole. But he's still alive and finds what's been powering the alien queen this whole time, an artifact called Entruster, which converts the feelings of anyone who has used it so far into power. It's heavily implied that this was Phil's weapon, evidenced by when he touched it, and that its description is tailor-made to be used by him, who has a robot body and negates feelings, so he fuses with it and defeats the alien queen. But we're not done quite yet, as the alien queen left behind some of her eggs to latch onto the ship as it careens back to Earth. Luckily, thanks to everyone's efforts, the group manages to successfully remove the eggs and touch down within a river near Hong Kong, bringing Phil and his mother to Earth. Wait, Hong Kong? Doesn't Fang live there and is gonna ask Fuuko for a rematch? And while yes, that is true to an extent, it's not Fang that approaches Fuuko this time. Alright everyone, who's ready for a tournament arc?
You know what? Yeah.
Stop! Wait, I promise this one is interesting. This has Shen in it. This arc is all about Shen as he enters a tournament to fight against Fang to the death. The person who actually went to see Fuuko was Shen's sister Mei, who wants Fuuko to help her stop her brother from fighting. So Fuuko, Billy, Void, and Yusai infiltrate the tournament and attempt to remain inconspicuous during the preliminaries. But it's kinda hard too, considering that you have an ex-military, ex-boxer, a swordswoman, and an unlucky woman with martial arts training. The second Fang spots Fuuko in the arena, he immediately wants to try fighting her, venting about how frustrating it was not finding anyone and having to take care of two brats. And just when he was about to get serious, Shen makes his first appearance in this loop and gets in the way of Fang's and Fuuko's fight. He works together with Fuuko to stop the same attack that killed him in the previous loop, and seeing the golden opportunity in his hand, Fang backs off, wanting to fight Fuuko in the finals. However, Fuuko states that it'll be Shen who will defeat him. Afterwards, Fuuko tells Shen and Mei about how she plans to make Shen stronger, along with the truth about the loops, and she knows that she can't stop a battle-hungry Shen from fighting Fang. While he doesn't believe her words, he is impressed by her strength and agrees to her plan. Besides, he has a personal reason for winning this tournament, and it's not what you would expect. They shake hands, with Shen unknowingly being infused with Unluck, but that's a part of the plan, as Shen's untruth is the key to helping him defeat Fang. So, one by one, Shen gets paired with everyone in the Union and slowly overcomes their negated abilities, becoming stronger as a result. Meanwhile, Fuuko kidnaps Mei and takes her to Fang where she will be safe and discovers some very interesting information. As it turns out, Shen already met Mew earlier in his life and entered the tournament to prevent her from fighting Fang, as the prize was medicine to save her little brother. And then Mew secretly joined the tournament to help Shen rise through the bracket more easily, showing Fuuko that some things never change. Fuuko then asks Shen what the purpose of his strength was, with Shen replying that he never knew the answer until he met Mew, finding something that he could use his strength for and passing it on to others. After confirming Shen's feelings, Fuuko then willingly disqualified herself, allowing Shen and Mew to fight before Fang. During the fight, Shen fully grasps what it means to fight and to become stronger, that fighting for the sake of others and learning and growing alongside those who wish to do the same is the greatest strength one can give to oneself, and it's what triggered him to awaken his untruth ability, causing Mew to be punched out of the ring and over the mountain the tournament is taking place in. Fuuko, the Union, and Fang help Shen save Mew, and then finally, the long-awaited fight between master and student begins. We get to see Fang's backstory in this loop, where it reveals he was once a street urchin who attacked others for survival's sake. However, after meeting a martial arts teacher who tried to reform him, Fang learned that there could be more than one way to become strong. He attacked everyone at his martial arts school, hoping that one day someone will be able to surpass him, not realizing that he awakened to a Negator ability called Unfade, which causes his age to be suspended, which explains how this version of Fang was able to stay young despite 26 years passing. And I can't imagine that for someone like Fang, who was itching for a fight and for someone to try and surpass him, suddenly could only watch as promising fighters grew old and left him alone, leaving him with a void in his heart, wondering what's the purpose of becoming strong, not knowing that when he took Shen and Mei in, he found purpose in his life, even though he never said it and kept saying it was for the sake of fighting Fuuko again. When Shen activates his untruth in a dangerous technique that Fang taught him himself, Fang finally understood what everyone was saying about the meaning of strength and accepts his defeat, praising his foolish son since, unlike in the last loop, Shen does not hate him. Following Shen's victory, everyone recovers and Fang was about to leave. However, Fuuko convinces him to stay as she's about to take on a dangerous quest, one that she believes that she will need his help with. And that, I think, is a good stopping point. This is definitely going to be on the shorter side, I can feel it now, but don't worry, as we get further along in this latter half of the manga, I'm going to be discussing more and more of my thoughts towards certain arcs in the manga, especially when it gets closer to the end, and if you know, you know. Trust me, I've prepared a full-on rant on that scene when we get to it, but that's not happening for a while now. So let me know what your thoughts and favorite moments are on this first half of the new loop in the comments below. Until then, thanks for watching everyone. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell for more manga related content. I hope you have a decent day and I'll see you next time. Bye!